In this first collection of stories and memories told by the people who lived in the Great House, we start with Lord Monteagle talking about his ancestors.
That's the earliest portrait I've got, which is Thomas Rice. And suddenly, after years, it took me years to find out what year he died, and I was going to put it on there. It's 1745, I think he died, and then I lost the actual date. And then his son is here, called Stephen Rice, and he married a Miss Spring. And their son was the first Monteagle who was Chancellor for 4 years. This is rather one interesting. This is when you, my parents always thought it was the actual box the budget was produced in, but I don't know whether that's true. But each minister of the Crown, you always you were allowed to take your dispatch box away with you when you left.
All right.
And it's one of my favourite bits of memorabilia.
This is indeed
in the string box for the
treasure.
last 60 years.
Coat of arms on the top, and
yes, that's the Victoria coat of arms, and it's very small nowadays. The ministerial box is about twice the size it is. The first Lord Monteagle was called Thomas Spring Rice, and he was Member of Parliament for Limerick for 12 years, and then he became Chancellor of the Exchequer in Queen Victoria's government under Lord Melbourne, and he was the Queen's first Chancellor of the Exchequer, and he did that for 4 years. And when he finished that job, he was created Lord Monteagle of Brandon, and then he retired to live in our family home, Mount Trenchard in Foynes in County Limerick. We owned the whole of the village of Foynes and quite a bit of land round it, and he had a number of tenants, and he felt that his job in life was to come back and look after them, so to speak. It's rather complicated, our sort of situation. In my father's mother was a sister of the then Knight of Kerry, and she and her family owned a property at Glanleam on Blenshire Island, and my father's first cousin, who was the Knight of Kerry in 1935, wanted to sell Glanleam and go back to England where he had other homes. And my father had been brought up for most of his childhood on Blenshire Island and hated the thought of Glanleam going out of the family, and so he bought it from his first cousin for a peppercorn sum to keep it in the family. Of course, during the war it was very, very remote, although we had a railway down we were the most westerly railway station in Europe, Blenshire Harbour. But it took 24 hours solid travelling to get back forwards to school. We left at 6:30 in the morning by pony trap, and we caught an open ferry boat across to the mainland, and then in total we had about 9 different vehicles of transport before we got to London at 6:30 the following morning.
And did you get to know the island people at all?
Yes, I think we got to know. There were lots of very elderly people who my father knew terribly well, and I got to know a number of them. And then we had various people who worked on the farm, and we had a wonderful boatman. And, one met a lot of the locals. We used to snipe shoot on most of the island, and one was always meeting people then.
Was your father involved in bringing the float boats into Foynes at that time?
I can't quite remember how it started, but my father got very involved and knew most of the BOAC people who operated from Foynes, and had a great interest in it. And I was lucky enough to have a free trip in one of the flying boats coming back for the Easter holidays when I was in 1942, and it was very exciting landing in a flying boat in one's home village. I've always remembered that. And then we were very sad when the flying boats ceased, and there was some technical reason why they were not viable to fly the Atlantic. And all through the war, the Foynes and the flying boats flew between Foynes and Newfoundland in Canada. Yes, a lot of VIPs flew through Foynes, and who, because of Ireland being neutral, was supposed to come incognito. And the story goes that Winston Churchill was one of the people, and then Field Marshal Alexander, who was a very senior general.
And you spoke about the trees and the landscape. There were some very rare trees.
We had some very rare trees. We allegedly had the biggest fuchsia tree in the world, but and then lots of other trees which grew to 40 or 50 feet, which people in England grew in a greenhouse that high, that sort of thing.
And did many visitors come to look at those trees?
Quite a lot. But then the older, we didn't have all through the war there was no, garden wasn't open to the public, but it's open to the public, has been for quite a long time, and was, in the days when my great uncle owned it, nobody, they were well enough off not to have to open the place to the public to make money out of it.
Was there friction with the local people, rights of way and all of that?
No, not really, if I remember rightly. One always has the odd difficult characters, one or two very difficult women who one at Foynes was absolute bane of my father's existence, but no, not many, no, everybody, people wanted, if they wanted to walk along one's property along sea, of course they did, and if you said no you can't, they would have done anyhow. So. 19th Knight of Kerry, who was my great uncle, who started the gardens at Valentia Island basically.
We'll continue now with our pictorial and audio exhibition. The Lansdowne estates covered a large area, stretching all the way from the Beara Peninsula to the town of Kenmare. And David Bigham now runs the estate and gardens at Doreen. Your family history goes back so far and has such an interesting history. Here for 400 years?
From about 1660 or 1670. That's when Sir William Petty owned this land, and it was through marriage that it came to the Fitzmaurices. But it was through Sir William Petty that the property down here came into the family. He was given some land, and he bought land, and nobody knows exactly how much, but it's thought that he had, when he died, it might have been as much as 240,000 acres, mostly in Kerry. There was some in Meath as well. The house was burnt in 1922, and my great-grandfather was very, very fond of it, and he said it's got to be rebuilt exactly as it was. So, of course, there were all sorts of possibilities of building a beautiful house, which this is not, or doing improvements. But absolutely nothing was to change from the previous house. And he was a very small man, and all the doors were rebuilt very small, because he didn't want anything different. And he saw it, I think, twice before he died, so that was very nice.
Lansdowne estates would have stretched all the way into Kenmare, and some of the streets were named after the family, Edward Street and William Street.
Oh, yes. Well, that was the first Lord Lansdowne, whose name, I suppose, at that time was William Henry Shelburne, and the main part of Kenmare is a triangle, and with Henry Street